Hello everybody, I can't believe this is episode 5 of the blouse series. Now this one is based on challenges that you lovely viewers have given me. So one of the challenges I've been asked to do is to take a setting sleeve and turn it into a drop shoulder, and then also this swatching between a sleeveless and a sleeved top. So by the end of this episode, one of these fabrics on here is going to become a dropped shouldered top from a set-in sleeve pattern, but also I'm going to need your help to pick one of these other fabrics, whichever ones I don't use, that I will make for the final showcase in episode 7. So I know that many of you over the time you've been watching have been very disappointed that this top I'm wearing, which I have made various iterations of, love that word, putting them up here while I'm talking, of the Marilla Walker top actually doesn't exist as a pattern anymore. You can't find it, you can't contact her, and so you challenged me to see how I could take a nicely fitting bodice that you've got of a setting sleeve and come up with this perfect just drop shoulder top, because putting a picture in here, lots of love for this top, which is this bodice with a lovely sort of gathered pleated sleeve added on. So if we're going to do this, the first thing we need to do is pick a bodice block that you like. Now I am picking the patina blouse one because I love it. I've made many versions of it over the years, and so I've gone for that one. All you need to do is pick your favourite one. Now you could go for the Twig and Towel Vista top because that is a great bodice block, or their scenic one. If you don't know and you haven't noticed me mentioning it before, they have an amazing sale on right now. And don't forget to go back to episode 3 if you've missed it, because there is a giveaway in episode 3 only about that. Now, if we are going to do this, as I say, we need our bodice block and then we're going to set to work. But before we start, let me show you this top. Now I've gone extra on this one and I've actually put on a waist tie. This didn't exist in the pattern. I've incorporated them into the side seams. You can see that it's a perfectly nice top on its own, but I just wanted something a bit different and elevate it. So to elevate this, I have put in these side ties, which means I can create like almost like, I think it's called like an Obi belt from like Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think it is. Excuse the trousers not matching, but gotta go for the comfy trousers when we're recording. So in episode 6, which will be coming next, there will be more hacking tips. So if you're like, oh, I want to play with a pattern, and a lovely viewer left this brilliant comment that said, and thank you, she did say I could use it, the Swiss Army knife of a pattern. Basically a pattern that you can turn into lots of different ones, and I'm determined to help you do that, if nothing else. But once you've got something that fits, that you can really play with it. So I've come up with some ideas, I've been challenged on some ideas, so there is so much more to come. I'm not sure that 7 episodes is going to be enough. So we better crack on with today's episode. The first thing we're going to do is cut to me showing you how to take a set-in sleeve bodice block and create a drop sleeve. And then of course I'd have to make one to show you. So I'm going to pick one of these 3 fabrics and I'm going to make it for you. So I'll see you soon after we've been to the cutting table. So for my top that I'm going to make into a drop shoulder, we're actually going to start with the Friday Pattern Company patina blouse. Now I've cut out all of these extra pieces to help. Let's get them out of the way. The patina blouse is a V-neck pattern with a yoke. Now this is something I thought, and it has a facing and traditionally has a collar. Now I am not doing the collar, and I've left the collar off before. Let's ignore the back for a minute. So if we think, what we're doing is we are taking this piece here, which has a V, and we are going to take this armhole and we're going to bring it out into a drop shoulder. So the original patina blouse pattern has a yoke separate from the top, and you can see that the top is wider because this is gathered in this area here. But to do a drop sleeve, we don't want all of that business going on. So what I actually did was fold in the back piece enough to know that over the distance of the two back pieces, I would lose the gathering so that the yoke and the back piece fits together. I slid them over the seam allowance amount, retraced it so that I ended up with a continuous back piece. So if you have got a yoke on the back, that's the first thing you're going to need to do to address that, is get your yoke matching so you've got your full armhole there. And then I have traced my front bodice piece as well. I'm going to do it on the front piece first. So you need spare bits of paper, which I saved from the cutting out. I'm going to do them the other way up so you can see the pieces. So what we're looking to do is, if we're happy with this neck shape, if you wanted it more scooped or further in, you'd have to adjust the neck shape, but I'm going to keep that as it is. And my aim is I want to extend out beyond the sleeve side, and I have to think about if I want that dark kept in or not, but have a think about that in a minute. So we're going to extend out beyond, and we're going to do it at a sloping down angle from whichever point we want till we reach the same line down as that. Now I'll show you what I mean. So what I mean, where's my ruler gone? So if we put this bit of paper underneath, max it out as far as we can go, the ultimate line that we're aiming to get to is the same height as the sleeve is. We want to come out beyond the bodice, so we're sort of looking to come out about here. Now how dropped you want it is how far you come out. So I'm looking at my bodice here and looking at that. Now the reason I know this is because I've looked at ones I've got, and I've looked online and I've looked at how they work. So if we take here and we curve out from here, slope out, we're going to need to add a piece in here, don't worry. We're going to do that. Now I'm going to get a darker pen because that is really hard to see. So here we go. So we're going to extend that out from here to the point we want to get to. So we're going to do that. Now I'm going to put an extra piece of paper in here. Slide that underneath there. I might as well use scraps till we get from here to where we're going. Now once we're out here, we're going to come straight down, because this will be the straight part of the drop shoulder. Now when we look at any drop shoulder pattern, these are straight, so we're just going to go straight down. But what we want to do is rejoin in line with here. So this is where we want the bottom of the arm side to be. Now if this is quite a snug one, you could come in lower down. So you need to know your pattern well enough to know, is this snug on me? But also don't forget that will drop it down a bit anyway. So we want to come in line here. And what we're going to do is we're aiming to get back in line with the bodice. So the bodice is over here. So what we're aiming to do is curve into the bodice. Now I've done that a bit low. So we're curving in, because what we've got to do is get from the drop shoulder under the arm and then into the bodice. Now, so I'm now going to tape those bits in place. We now have to match this to the back. So, because what we've got to remember is these pieces used to attach. So if we think about when we sew it together, these two would attach like this. So you'd have your full arm opening, your shoulders would attach, and then that would be your full neck opening. So obviously this piece now has to run to extend to that, so that you've got that full opening there. So what we're going to do is now do similar this time. We're going to come this way on this piece, so we're going to extend this out, so we'll get another bit of paper underneath. It's going to be enough on its own. So if we remember what we said the ultimate finish line has to be in line with that. So it's going to be over here, and it's going to be in line with the body. So that's going to be here, and then we're going to go from the top, drawing the line across. It's barely any different there, and across like that. Probably a smidge there. So then we come down, straight down. I'm going to curve in there. This has to match the other one. So here, when I look at this one has to match this one. So actually we need to come right out to here. I don't know what I was thinking there. So when we match these up, they're going to do that. So that is going to come down from there. Then we're going to curve in. I was wondering why it was so weird. We're going to curve in like that, so it matches in there and then carries on straight down the back. So we'll just cut that out. So if we've got enough bits of tape on there to hold everything together. So now if you think, the rest of the body is the same, but when we join the two pieces at the shoulder, they match, da-da, and you've got your neckline matching. Now this is the interesting bit here, because this helps guide us with the new shape of the sleeve, because that guided the shape of the sleeve that we used to put in. Obviously with gathering it'd be more, but now what we're going to do is we're going to trace that line shape. So what we've got is here the line that is the shape of the armhole now, the arm side. Bear with, it's going to be a bit wiggly as I trace it, but that's okay, we can get the ruler on it in a minute. Just mark the centre point. So that's the shape, because these will curve and join each other. On here is the head of the sleeve. So the head of the sleeve is now this shape. Now we could flare out, flare down, whatever we want to do. Now I'm going to mark, that was the back and that was the front. They should be similar or slightly different, but we're going to mark that, because then when we're thinking about our design, so if I take this piece, the shape of my sleeve head, what I can think about doing is what I want to do with it, because if I want to put in a sleeve that fits exactly, then I would retake the top of a sleeve and change the shape at the top. Of course I don't want to do that. If I've gone for a drop shoulder, I want to be able to play with that. So bear with me while I get a piece of paper. I want something with gathering. I want something of interest. So what I'm going to do is trace this onto, well, I'm going to trace it on, mark that that's the middle. I know that's the shape I've got to have. And then if I extend it out, I could just extend it and then gather it in, or I could pleat it in. I can think whether I want to flare outwards to make it more belled at the bottom, whether I want it just to go straight down and then gather at the bottom. Do I want to put a lantern sleeve on it? I think for this first one, just to make life not too difficult, I am going to extend the line out so that we can gather it in. Just extend it, gather it into the length that we need. And then I think we will come straight down. As you can tell, I'm mindful that we don't need as long as usual, because this is drop shoulders. You need to measure. You need to measure from where it drops to where you want the sleeve to go. So I'm pretty sure this is going to drop down to about here. I need that length of the ruler. But this first go, so we just, we're eyeballing this. Do a little bit extra generosity, okay? So the length of that. Just going to write it in that way. Length plus a centimetre. Okay, so I'm just going to come straight across on the bottom because I'm either going to gather this or pleat this into a cuff just for ease, and if we don't like what we've done, we shall never speak of it again. Okay, so that is my drop shoulder pattern. Now if you've seen any drop shoulder jumper patterns, that's the kind of thing to have a look at, because we are coming into that territory and they are often very sort of rectangular. Some are straight across because the shoulder drops so much, but we've got this shape on the top. So I am off to cut out and turn that into a drop shoulder with a sleeve. Let's see what happens. Right, okay, so this is a version 1 of the patina blouse with the drop sleeve. Something's not right there. I knew it looked a bit, so we've got to calm down lower. We've got to lower that whole arm thing. I suppose when it is a sleeve up there, but that still feels too, so yeah, that's not worked, has it? The rest of it, good. Shoulders, obviously excuse that. Everything else good, but that is not good, is it? So we need to bring that down, I would say 1 inch or 2, and then do it again. But this is why you've got to sometimes do it in a fabric that doesn't matter so much, because I have got enough of this fabric that I can do it again. And by the way, although I stitched this bit correctly, I just basted that because I was worried that things weren't going to work right. But I have an idea for how I can rescue this one. If you've loved this episode and you haven't seen the rest, I'm pretty sure you're going to like going back over the whole playlist. But if you have seen all of those, then you might love the patina blouse episode here, where I really go into lots of ways that I sewed that. So now we have our drop shoulder, and you have to wait to the end to see the finished make. Let's talk about how to change from a sleeveless to a sleeved and backwards and forwards. So we'll cut to that. And if you're lucky, I'll have made some of those as well, because I'm just loving making all of these samples to show you, which will become items that I will wear. Okay, let's talk sleeveless and sleeved. So the first thing I want to say is this won't be a demo bit, this is more of an explanation. So things will pop up on the screen, but I'm sorry if you were hoping for an additional demo, but this one is slightly different. First of all, I was hoping that I could show you quite easily the difference between a sleeveless and a sleeve pattern. So I grabbed this one, which is a butterick pattern, B6175, and I thought that as it has a sleeveless version and a sleeved version, they would hopefully have 2 bodice blocks, because when we think about sleeveless and sleeve, the key thing we need to think about is in a sleeved pattern, you will have the shoulder coming over further because you will need it to be able to incorporate in the sleeve. You will generally have a slightly lower position to where the arm side finishes underneath, because you've got to fit a sleeve with the seams in there and then the extra fabric. And it will often shape differently round here because you've not got to worry about not accidentally revealing a bit of your bra or something. But on inspection of this pattern, sadly, they've kept the same bodice block, whether it's sleeved or not sleeved. That is a worry in itself. But also, what was helpful is they did have a facing piece for when it was the sleeveless, so that you would create an interior facing. Because one of the key considerations when you are creating a sleeveless top, particularly if you are hacking one yourself, is how will you finish that edge? Traditionally, we don't just finish it with a turned over seam because it has that risk of popping out. So you'd either have an interior facing that might join into the neck facing, which that pattern does, or you might have like an interior arm cuff that's like an arm facing, that's like a nice, if you think of a neck facing, similar but in here, or you might do bias binding. So there are choices about how we finish an open armhole. But what we also need to think is, if we took traditionally, ignoring that big floor pattern, if we traditionally took a sleeved pattern and wanted to make it sleeveless, we would need to think about maybe bringing that height up there so our bra isn't on show or it's not hanging too low. We might need to bring it in a little bit at the shoulder just to tighten it up a smidge. We might need to bring it in or out depending on how the sleeved pattern is drafted. Now, one of the best pieces of advice I've seen is if you're taking a sleeveless pattern and you want to make it sleeved, lay over the top of your sleeveless pattern, your sleeved pattern. So if I take my much spoken about Vista top, if I laid this piece here over the top of my sleeveless pattern or put my sleeveless over the top, I could compare them and I could then adjust the armhole in preparation for a sleeve. So if you are out there with a lovely sleeveless pattern that you think, I want to add a sleeve to this, find your favorite sleeved bodice block where you know it works well for you and have a little comparison of the way this is shaped, because it might come out more for the sleeve than the sleeveless because you'll have those seams in there, and you can shape it in. Now, if you're going like this from sleeved to sleeveless, if you have a different sleeveless pattern, you could do the reverse of that. But for me, as I can't find one in my house, I would actually make a toile of this without a sleeve in it and look at whether I need to bring this piece up a bit so that my bra isn't on show, whether I need to bring this piece down a smidge, whether I need to bring the hole over or out. I have found conflicting opinions on that, and I think it is very personal, because what you will often find with a sleeved top when you make it sleeveless is there will be some space here, and there's a really good article about this on Helen's Closet. Now, if you are a member, I'm going to put an article together with references for you. If you're not a member and you're thinking, what is Sam talking about? I have a membership. There is a button below which you can click on to have a look at it. Nothing bad happens. And I do put extras together for my members. So there is all sorts of resources. There's pattern ideas, colour palette ideas, Excel files full of things like all my sweatshirt patterns that I've looked into. So I will be putting together a resource for my members, and it's available all membership tiers of resources, and it will be the references I used for this portion of the video. And several membership tiers also get access to virtual socials with myself, and also early access to videos and member special videos. If you've ever seen them, they're available in some tiers as well. So there are conflicting opinions about more or less, but the key thing you will find is sort of gapage here, because what you haven't got is it pulling into the sleeve to incorporate that in. So what you might have to do is, I would recommend, if you're going from a sleeved pattern and wanting to make it sleeveless, make a toile, look if that's the case, look if you need to do a bit of cutting and overlapping of the pattern piece, and then retrace it. What you're needing to do is to create a sleeve hole that, apart from having a facing or a binding, doesn't need the sleeve to sort of complete it. As I say, the Helen's Closet article, she shows how to do it on one of her patterns, is very good. So sorry if you was hoping for another bit of a demo, but if you really want it, do let me know and I can make a whole separate episode about it. Hope you're ready for today's big reveal. So first of all, we have the drop-shouldered top that I've made, and of course one with a sleeve, and I will talk to you about how I've done it. So I'm delighted with how this version turned out, because I've added on a sleeve, and even though I had to make this twice, I think it has worked out really well as a lovely drop-shouldered blouse. And here's my second version where I did it with just the short sleeve. I'm looking forward to wearing this with the skirt I made. I put some lovely buttons on as well. This fabric is from Sew Me Sunshine. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Please let me know any more challenges that you would like, because we don't have to stop when Sew April blouse finishes. I can carry this on as long as I like, and I am loving being given challenges. I've even been sent pictures of blouses that people want to recreate, and I am up for that challenge. So I am off to work on some of that now.